You guys see I'm trying to make this beard thing work. I didn't know you'd have that picture. Thanks, Mark. Last month, I got an email from Margie Janssens from the Netherlands. Miss Janssens, who I had never met before, was referred to me by a random connection. Her note would speak of how her daughter, Sophie, was going to be a freshman at DePauw this year. She would be traveling from Amsterdam and arriving in Indianapolis on August 13th. She would ask if I knew of a hotel where Sophie could crash for the evening, as she was not to report to campus until the following day. As I shared the correspondence with my family, they immediately suggested that Sophie spend the evening at our home and we could bring her up to DePauw the next day. Eagerly anticipating her arrival, my 8-year-old daughter would ask me every day, "Is today the day that this DePauw student comes?" So this past Sunday, we had the pleasure of meeting Miss Sophie at the airport. As I lifted Sophie's bags containing all of her worldly possessions into my car, I jokingly asked her if she had ever been to Indiana before. As she replied no, I paused. You see, up until that moment, I had not conceptualized that this young lady had made the decision to commit herself to our DePauw family, sight unseen. As we chatted throughout the evening and the following morning, she would tell me of all the characteristics that sold her on DePauw. Ultimately, she would say, just something felt right. As we drove to Greencastle this past Monday, my daughter asked Sophie, "Are you nervous?" Sophie replied, "No, I'm just so very excited." As we turned off of Highway 231 onto Anderson Street and gazed upon East College, I tried to imagine the emotions that she must have felt at that moment. She traveled the world dreaming of that moment and so many similar moments that would fill the next 4 years of her life. What an awesome responsibility DePauw has to make those moments special. What an awesome responsibility we have to deliver on the expectations, hopes, and dreams that have been entrusted unto us. Hopes, dreams, passions. Abhishek Sambukter is a junior economics major here at DePauw. He did a human resources internship at our Hyderabad, India office this past summer. Coincidentally, our office is a few minutes from Abhishek's home. I tell you, this young man is brilliant, y'all. Towards the end of the summer, I asked Abhishek, and we call him Abhi. I asked Abhi for his thoughts on DePauw. Abhi would tell me that when he arrived at DePauw, he was instantly exposed to a world of fresh ideas. While he had dreams and passions before he came to DePauw, they have now been shaped in a more definitive manner. I asked Abhi to give me an example. He would respond by telling me about a lecture that Professor Humberto Barreto gave as he was leaving Wabash, and how much that impacted him. I actually listened to that lecture on the way up to Greencastle today. Powerful words, Professor Barreto. I don't know if you're here today, but powerful words, my brother. And while that lecture had significant impact on Abi and was truly moving for him, what really touched Abi was the time that Professor Barreto opened his home and invited him for Thanksgiving dinner. It was the first real American Thanksgiving meal that Abi had ever had. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie. He described them all in detail. I was getting hungry as he was telling me about this evening. Professor Salil Benegal brought the wine. They would play board games after dinner. That night meant so much to Abhishek. That day, the relationship between student and teacher became fortified. They would become family. Dr. George Washington Carver once said that all learning is understanding relationships. Abhishek's story and Dr. Barreto's kindness reminded me of similar experiences that I had during my years at DePauw. I can remember dinners at Professor Gloria Townsend's home, lunches at Dr. James Manning's restaurant, countless hangout sessions with Dave Burke, who's become a good personal friend of mine today. Most notable was when I found out that Professor Ralph Gray was hanging out with my father at the Jazz Kitchen in Indianapolis. And my father was from New York, so that means he came to Indianapolis to hang out with Ralph Gray. Professor Gray, who was a jazz enthusiast, found out that my family shared his love for music. Knowing this, him and his wife, Sally, took it upon themselves to reach out to my parents and form a relationship that would last years after I had graduated from DePauw. I learned so much from these casual acts of kindness demonstrated by my DePauw teachers. In the words of educator Rita Pearson, no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. Relationship building has been at the core of my career since graduating in 1995. It is at the very core of what I do every day. My professors modeled behaviors for me that emphasized the importance of fostering relationships. These informal lessons were truly impactful on my life. Relationship building is at the heart of what we hope to achieve through the Center for Diversity and Inclusion. I believe our Diversity and Inclusion Center doubles down on a relationship building philosophy that has been an integral component of the DePauw culture for years. This building will now provide a structured environment that can help cultivate relationships and facilitate equal access to the DePauw dream for all students, regardless of gender, origin, ethnicity, or sexuality. And that is so important in today's society. So as we approach the 2017-2018 academic year, on behalf of myself and the Board of Trustees, I would like to thank all of you for the work that you do. The faculty and staff that make up our DePauw family have always been exemplary. You continue to deliver on those special moments that have made DePauw sacred grounds for so many of us. Thank you.